Hello everybody and welcome back to the football betting series here on YouTube, Premier League edition. Not the best week last time around. We only went 1 from 3 with both Brentford and Arsenal letting us down. So across that game week we did actually lose £27.60. But overall for the month of April we are still up £13.80 and we're sitting on a 62.5% winning record. Hopefully we can change our fortunes in this episode. I have 3 selections, so without further ado, let's get into it. We're going to kick things off with 10th place Fulham playing host to 16th place Leeds United. And Fulham picked up a vital win on their hunt for the European spots, beating Everton in style by 3-1. This does mean that the Cottagers have now broken their streak of 5 straight losses. And as I said, they're just about within touching distance of securing Europa or Conference League football. Across the season, Fulham are averaging 1.4 goals per game and creating 1.6 key chances per 90, defensively conceding at an identical rate of 1.4 goals per game and managing 8 clean sheets in 30 matches. Leeds were utterly dismantled against the Liverpool side, who were desperate for a win and a good performance. As such, the Reds showed no mercy, scoring 6 and winning on every major win predictor. It's not the best form for Leeds right now, as they have only won 1 in their last 4 games, and across the season they are scoring 1.3 goals per game and creating 1.7 key chances per 90, but they are conceding nearly 2 goals per game with only 5 clean sheets in their 30 matches. When we look at the head-to-head record, Fulham have won each of the last 2 encounters, including the 2-0 victory in the FA Cup most recently. With Leeds piling the pressure on in the second half, they were ultimately unable to find the back of the net in that game. With Fulham's poor run of form coming into this game and 2 heavy defeats for Leeds United in a row, I can't with any great confidence predict a winner. However, I do like goals in this game. Fulham have seen over 2.5 goals in 4 of their last 5 games, and for Leeds this number stands at each of their last 6 games. Additionally, each of the last 5 league encounters between these two sides have seen over 2.5 goals as well. When we look at the home form for this season, at Craven Cottage, Fulham see an average of 2.8 goals per game. And as for Leeds on the road, they're involved in an average of 3.2 goals per game. All signs appear to point towards a goal fest in this game, with both sides struggling to keep the ball out of the net in recent weeks. Over 2.5 goals will be our first bet. Our second selection sees 9th place Brentford playing host to high-flying 6th placed Aston Villa. And Brentford may have felt hard done by the nature of the goals they conceded against Wolves, but I could argue that they did not do enough to score at the other end in their 2-0 loss last time out. This does mean that the West London side have not won in each of their last 5 games, and across the season they're scoring 1.5 goals per game, creating 2.5 key chances per 90. They're also conceding 1.4 goals per game, with 9 clean sheets in 31 matches, but this doesn't really give us a great picture of the poor recent form, so what I've done is I've created a table comparing the season average to the last 5 games. Over the last 5 games they are scoring just the 1 goal per game, which is worse than their 1.5 average. They're creating only 1.2 key chances per game, which is less than half what they originally managed across the season. Defence is also worse, with 1.8 conceded compared to the 1.4, and clean sheet record has, well, fallen off a cliff. 0 out of 5 compared to a 35% record prior. The away side Aston Villa will be flying high following their comprehensive 3-0 victory against Newcastle last time out. 5 straight wins now and unbeaten in each of their last 8 games. Across the season, they are averaging 1.4 goals per game and creating 1.7 key chances per 90, defensively conceding 1.3 goals per game with 10 clean sheets in 30 matches to this point. Similarly with Brentford, the season averages are quite a poor illustration of the recent form under Unai Emery. So what I've done again is I've constructed a table comparing the average to the last 5 games. As we can see, over the last 5 games, Villa are scoring a whole goal extra per game compared to their average, and they're creating almost a whole extra key chance per 90. The number 2.6 is actually on par with the likes of Liverpool, Arsenal and Manchester City over the same 5-game sample. Defence is also very solid, conceding much less than average and only dropping 1 clean sheet from their last 5 for an 80% clean sheet rate. My final use of tables for this particular prediction is going to compare the averages between Brentford and Villa. It's hard to pick a winner really, but you may lean towards Brentford. But if we just change it slightly to compare the last 5 games, and it's quite clear that we're looking at Villa to win despite being on the road. We'll come back to this later, because when we look at the head-to-head record, in the last 3 games since Villa's promotion back to the big time, we've had 1 result of each, a draw and a win per side. The most recent game, however, did see Aston Villa win by 4-0, where the Villains beat the absolute honey off the Bees in all win predictors aside from possession stat. Brentford are on a poor run of form, and this is a horrid time to come against the in-form Villa side. When we look at the home and away records, Brentford rank number 7 with 27 points from a possible 45, but only 1 win in their last 4 games at the G-Tech ground. Villa, on the other hand, rank number 5 in the Premiership for 21 points from a possible 45. They're also unbeaten in each of their last 4 away journeys, winning 3 of these games. With all that being said, I am cautious and I'm going to respect Brentford's solid home form even though their recent form is quite poor. I do like Aston Villa and will fancy them to pick up at least a point on the road, and that can only mean one thing, so we're going to be laying Brentford here at home for a full stake in our second bet. Our third and final bet of today's episode is a game which could see who qualifies for the Champions League and who ultimately misses out. Third place Newcastle play host to fifth place Tottenham Hotspurs, and as touched upon in the last prediction, Newcastle were dismantled with relative ease in their 3-0 defeat at the hands of Aston Villa. This result broke a 5-game winning streak. Across the season, however, Newcastle are averaging 1.6 goals per game from 2.7 key chances per 90, defensively averaging 0.8 goals against and 13 clean sheets in 30 games. The away side Spurs also broke a 5-game streak last week at the hands of Bournemouth, losing by 3-2. Spurs forfeited their early lead against Bournemouth before losing the point they managed to salvage in the 95th minute due to Otada's winner. Despite this, Spurs are averaging 1.8 goals per game from 1.9 key chances per 90, defensively conceding 1.5 goals a game with 9 clean sheets in their 31 Premier League games. When we look at the head-to-head record, there's no obvious pattern that I can see. However, Newcastle did win the game earlier in the season by 2-1, starting stronger with a 2-goal lead at half-time before Kane managed to secure a consolation goal. One pattern which is pretty clear, though, is the goals market. Newcastle have sent over 2.5 goals in 5 of their last 6 games, and for Spurs, this number stands at 4 in their last 5. When we look at the head-to-head record, over 2.5 goals has come in each of the last 4 encounters. And overall, Newcastle see an average of 2.4 goals per game. With Spurs, their games see an average of 3.3 goals per game. When we filter this by home and away record, we can see that at St James Park, Newcastle have been involved in an average of 2.3 goals per game, and Spurs on the road see an average of 3.2 goals per game. So there is strong but not ironclad evidence here in support of a over 2.5 goal result here today. And this is the way I'm going to be leaning in our final bet. But due to Newcastle's averages falling slightly below the 2.5 threshold, I'm going to temper things with a half stake. Over 2.5 goals, half stake. There we have it, 3 more selections for you in today's episode, starting off with the early kickoff on Saturday. Fulham leads over 2.5 goals, odds of about 9 over 10, £20 stake to return 18.60. The one game from the 3 o'clock kickoffs is Brentford versus Villa. We're going to be laying the home side, odds of about 7 over 10, £20 stake to return 13.60. And then the one featured game for the Sunday for just a half stake, Newcastle Spurs, odds of 4 to 5, £10 to return 8.30. Across the weekend, we're going to be risking £50 sterling to pick up hopefully £40 and 50 pence. Will we do so? Well, there's only one way to find out, and that's to tune into the next episode. But if you have made it to this point in the video, please drop a like down below and subscribe to the channel for more content. And don't forget to check out the pinned comment for La Liga and Serie A action. And as always, have yourself a lovely day.